We are live. Hi. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good morning. Hello, lovely people. Hi. Hi, Never Troubled. First on. High five. How are we? Hi, lovely people. Hello. How's your week been? Yeah. How's the week been? Everybody's joining. I'll just ramble for a couple of minutes, let people know before I get started. Funny old week, right? Funny old week. All right, I'll start the ramble, the intro ramble. Here, it's all seems to be heating up coronavirus-wise. Again, parts of the country going into lockdown. I'm in London at the moment. It feels like an inevitable lockdown. And American brothers and sisters. What the hell was that on Monday night? The presidential debate. I don't know. I might seem to be making light of it. I'm not, because it's serious. But sometimes I didn't see it, but I have to say I really, really, really feel for you all. Incredible, right? Couple of old white guys slugging it out, and obviously, Biden was responding to the treatment from the madman Donald Trump. But anyway, yeah, what a week. My week has been great, actually, in many ways. I've been in the studio, which I haven't been in for a year and a half, and I've been in with the fantastic Paul Epworth. We've been demoing this guitar called the Circle guitar, and we've been doing a tune together, and it's just been great. He's got an amazing studio in Crouch End, and we have been making some music, and sort of, when you get into a studio with somebody, it's a bit like a dance, because I'd never met Paul. I'd spoken to him on the phone, and he's done, for those who don't know, he's done so much work he's worked with everybody. He's worked with, he's probably famous for working with Adele and winning Oscars, but he's worked with Thurston Moore and just with everybody. LCD Sound System. He's a great, great guy. And it's been great. And it's been good, because I'm going to go off. I'm building a studio myself. Next week I'm going to Wales to start the building of a studio. Not physical building, but recording parts. And it's a good mirror on where I need to go. And that's where I'm going to start writing. Anyway, so yeah, it's been good. But again, it feels weird, doesn't it, at the moment? It feels really strange when, I don't know if any of you have this, but it's such a weird time, because with all the shit going on outside and everything that's going on, that you can have these good days, and it's like, sometimes I but I feel guilty saying I had a great week, because so many people are suffering and they're not having a great week. But maybe we'll get into that. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how to reconcile it, but it doesn't help me if I've had a shit week and you've had a shit week. If I've had a shit week and you've had a great week, then that's important. So I guess it's the other way around, right? All right. So I thought tonight I would answer some questions, because you lovely people always ask them, and you've sent in some really, really, really great questions. And can I just say, I love this thing that we've got on the Instagram thing. I'm new to social media, and I've avoided it like the plague, because for me, things like Twitter have seemed to be like a shitstorm, people being nasty to one another. I don't see the point in that, and usually a load of angry men shouting at one another. And I'm enjoying the whole Instagram thing. I feel a genuine connection at times, and a little community that's building, and it feels good. So, thank you for being here, for sending in questions. I like doing this because I think it's important this time to communicate and connect. And that's, in a way, that's like a reassurance. And in a way, it's, you know, in this world, it's very easy in this world to feel very, very alone, isn't it? And trying to use these tools that we have and go, oh, you're like that. I feel like that too. Oh, I'm not alone in that. And I think there's a lot of universal experiences that we're all having at the same time, but in different parts of the world. And maybe this is what's important, you know, these things, and family and community, and this is part of it. So, you know, when I go out on tour again and when I go traveling, we must all get together. Whatever city we're in, we must get together. We must talk. We must be together. I really feel that. So, some questions. They're good. No favoritism here. I've just kind of gone through the ones that I thought was sort of, I felt like today there have been some fantastic questions. I want to, there's a question, Sandra, in Argentina that you sent about football and Eric Cantona. And maybe we'll go into that another time, but I just, you know, I didn't want to go there with Man United. I just want to say it was a good question, like they all are, but I don't know why. I just want to mention that. I maybe go into football and love of football and sport and all that stuff future. All right. So, okay, where do we begin? Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. How many times have you seen The Sound of Music? I love that film. I didn't used to, but I love it now because I must have seen it 50 times. I haven't seen it for a number of years now. When the kids were very small, I saw it. I digress. In fact, when I was young, I'll just fess up. When I was young, I don't know if you remember, what was the elder sister in Sound of Music called? Was she called? She wasn't called Lottie, was she? The elder sister. Like, as an 8-year-old, who was it? Can someone there know? Who was the older sister in Sound of Music called? The eldest sister. I bet you didn't think you'd be asking that. Come on, somebody out there. Oh, I should ask Sal, because my son, he had the same. I had a huge crush on her. Like, one of my earliest crushes was the eldest sister in Sound of Music. What was she called? Like, I wouldn't say Lottie or something. Liesel! Yes! Somebody got it. Liesel. Yeah, I had a crush on her when I was 10, and weirdly enough, Sal had a crush on her when he was 5. Anyway, away from the Sound of Music. No, it was Liesel, not Maria. Maria was, Liesel. She was the eldest sister. Yes, come on, it's all coming in now. We all know that, right? Okay, so, all right. Okay, somebody... okay, there's been a lot of questions about Radiohead, about the right song. So did I have a... Sorry. So did I have a crush on Liesel. A lot of Radiohead stuff, and I could spend the next 3 hours talking about Radiohead stuff, and I will do. Maybe we should do a Radiohead special, whatever that would be. A lot of people saying, when are we going to work together? When's the next album? I don't know. All I can say is we all saw each other recently at Tom's wedding. Fabulous. It was a really beautiful occasion. And, the thing about Radiohead is we're an honest band. We've always been an honest band. And with that honesty means that we work together when we feel inspired to work together. We don't work together because we should do, or we have to, or we must, or we ought to do it. It's because we really feel inspired. So when we do, I probably won't let you know immediately because, well, I might do. Maybe it's just open book. Maybe, I might well do, but the others might not like that. Maybe I'll give all right, but as soon as anything happens, I will let you know. All right, so... Okay, so. All right, somebody asked me. I'll start light and then let's get heavier. Okay, somebody asked me, what is the one thing people might be surprised to know about me. And I was trying to wrap my head, because to me it's all so kind of, because I know me quite well, it all seems quite obvious, because I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve. So, you know, I don't put on this front and there's a whole other world going on back there. But I realised there's one thing. When in my year off between school and university, and then in the year after university, the band started at school 1985. I left school 86. I had a year out. I worked in a restaurant and a bar, and I went travelling in America around by Greyhound when I was 18. And then after that, I graduated Manchester University in 1990, and I had a year to wait. Tom had another year at Exeter to finish. So I went back to Oxford and I worked in this restaurant called Brown's, that at the time was like the best restaurant to work in. And I was a barman there. And it was a bit like, you know, we wore white shirts, ties. I had actually, the first time I've tied my hair back since then. It was the sort of Happy Mondays phase I was going through. And it was all kind of like, you know, cocktails. It was a really busy bar. And I really, really, really loved it. And one of the things that I learned was how to keep a bar and a kitchen clean. That was part of the job. Like you'd serve the restaurant, you'd serving the customers. It was busy, busy, busy. But the whole art of it was to also, like in Italy, when you see great barmen and barwomen, they do the job, but they keep it clean. So they're bang, 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 you know, but they're everything is clean, and it's all. So I really like clean kitchens. I've got this thing about dirty kitchens, and I'm not OCD before you accuse me, because OCD is a different thing. But I like a clean kitchen. Does anyone else? Like, I cannot, if I walk into a kitchen and there's like loads of washing up, stacked up, like a student kitchen, there's dirt on the sides. It's like, right, roll up my sleeves, I'll start washing up, because I'm a very, very, very good washer-upper. Might not be a very good cook. I'm an okay cook, but my wife is a lot better. But I'm a really fucking good washer-upper. Okay, so that's what people might be surprised to hear. Okay, so but that comes from, there's a reason, because I was trained in a bar and a restaurant. You have to keep it clean, and once it's kind of inside you, ingrained in you. Yeah. I did the cocktail bottle flipping. That film had come out like 3 years earlier, the 80s, and we were all into that and we'd pass drinks down, catch them, you know, all of that. So yeah, I did a bit of that. I got that one. All right. So yeah, that's what some people might be surprised about me. All right. Okay, so Tom and the Wolves sent something through. Okay, and the other one was a favourite teacher. I don't know about you, but I was lucky. I had a handful of really good teachers. And I had some really not very good teachers, and people who you feel sorry for, who probably shouldn't be teaching. But my favourite teacher was this guy called, and he was my final year at school. He was called Scott Crozier, and he was an Australian. And my dad kept the report, actually, because it's quite interesting. So usually the end of school, end of year, it was like 18, I was done my A-levels. And he was my form tutor. And usually they sort of say, well, we wish him well into the outside world, or, you know, we enjoyed him when he played Brutus in Julius Caesar, all that stuff. But he wrote this thing, and he said, and it was our school wasn't like this at all. But he said, you know, and him and I really got on well. He knew I smoked cigarettes. I knew he knew, and it was all that kind of stuff. He was very cool, and he was a young Aussie guy, so he didn't talk down to us. he had that Aussie thing where, you know, he'd come and sit with us at lunch and go, "What's going on, guys? What's it?" And I'd be like, "I'll see you later, Mr. Crozier. I'm just going out to the park." And he'd go, "Oh yeah, having a ciggy." But he wrote this report, and he said, "I've really enjoyed getting to know Edward," and he said something along the lines of, "But my lasting impression of him will always be of him and his friends, and how every Friday they go to the music school and they make this music together." And that was the band. And he noticed it, and he was aware of it. Where at our school, that wasn't, a lot of people were just like, they were more concerned about how you performed academically or how you represented the school at sport or something. But he recognised that. And the lovely thing is, every time we go and play in Australia, in Melbourne, Scott comes along with his family. And I fucking love that man. He was so, great teachers. And I'm sure there are a few of you out there. Great teachers were amazing. They just, because they believe in you, right? Like adults. When an adult believes in you, it makes you feel it's just everything, right? Because I don't know, when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of adults who believed in kids, but I was lucky because my parents believed in me, and this guy Scott Crozier. So, all right, let's go on to another question. Okay, I'm not going to try and be too long tonight because I know I can have a habit of talking on and on and on. Okay. Simon Gardner says, "How do you judge the success of your album? Is it sales, downloads, fan reaction? Is it something you think about?" Yeah, obviously. I mean, when you make an album, a piece of music, what you do first and foremost is you make it, you have to please yourself. You have to love it, I think. And then what happens is you start playing it to people. So you might play it to your managers, you might play it to the record company, and they have a really, really important part to play, because when you play something to them, it's like you hear it through their ears. And basically, I mean, I think this is every situation that I've been in musically, you want people to like it. You want people to feel it. If you have done something that comes from your heart and soul and you feel it, the success is when that is understood and felt by people out there and other people. And so, yeah, that's the most important thing, if people connect with it themselves. And, and it's also great when you sell it as well, because, if you sell it, if you sell copies or people like it, it means you can make more records. If you don't sell enough records, usually it means you can't make any more records or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's success for me, is if people take it to heart. Okay, so, all right. Let's see. I've got a question lined up. Okay. All right. Someone said, okay, this is living in cloud cuckoo land, and this is a more serious question. And he or she says, "It would mean the world to me if you answer this. Do you have any advice for someone going through a really rough patch of depression? Me. Coupled with anxiety about my child's future and the future of my country and the planet, this year is all a bit much. I know you're not a therapist, but," and you said very nicely, "you are wise and kind and I look up to you quite a bit." Well, I'm not a therapist. I'm just a human being like you who's been through depression myself. And I think we've talked a little bit about this, or I've talked a little bit about this before. I mean, if you think you need help, and sometimes people do need antidepressants to really get them through a hole. I didn't do antidepressants because I don't personally like taking, I don't take paracetamol. I'm like one of those people. I just don't like putting stuff inside me unless it's hallucinogenic. No, it's not. Sorry, that was inappropriate. That's stupid. Sorry. Um, Apologies for that. No, I think you have to be kind to yourself. I mean, I think it's such a hard year for everybody, and particularly, you know, even when we haven't been through what we've been this year, the being in equilibrium, being in a state of happiness, is such a fragile thing, and I think you have to find out. It's like a trial and error thing. You have to find out what are the things that make you feel. Ask yourself, like, if you're watching too much news, or if you're picking up your phone and looking at social media and it's bringing you down, you've got to try and use these things. Someone says, Miriam just said, use St. John's wort instead of antidepressants. I actually used St. John's wort one year, and when we were making Kid A, it worked for me. But again, I think with all these things, like, if you need help, you need to go seeking it. And there are lots and lots of things that I go to that I've spoken to, like being in nature, being a guardian keeper, not reading the news, connecting with people that you love, being with people that you love, and people who have your best interest at heart. All these things. There are lots and lots and lots of things. And the other thing I would just like to say is you are not alone. And so many people, so many of us go through these things at times. And sometimes in your life, like I came out about probably 6 months ago of a quite long dark period, and sometimes you just got to hold on, and that's part of the, and the future, your child's future, our children, like, of course we worry, but our children are robust. They have their own story. I mean, as parents we worry about them, but they've got their own story as well. And you just do your best. I know that's not a very adequate reply, and maybe we should talk to somebody about this a lot more in future. But I think things like, for me, the whole spiritual connection and nature and meditation has been a key platform. And that's one of the things, actually, when I've had friends who said, listen, I know I'm going to sound like, like I'm repeating myself, but learn meditation. It's like my foundation, and it's free, and it helps. And, but there's lots of things you can do, but do these things and feel how they affect you. And if it lifts you a bit, those are good things. It feels right. And if it doesn't, stay away from them. Maybe don't watch the news. I didn't follow the news for 7 years. Because there's an energy in the media that only reports about the shit, that only reports about the fear, and it's too much. And I don't watch the news on a week. I read the paper at the weekend. I maybe scan the news on the BBC site, but I do not follow day-to-day news, because it's a business of basically reporting the shit stuff, and there's a lot of it at the moment. But there's also a lot of really amazing things. So I know that's probably not helped much, but maybe we'll go into that a bit more. I didn't want to dodge that because I think that's important. Again, I'm sorry for that little aside there. It wasn't appropriate at all. Okay. There's a question here from Amir Kia, emotional question. And he or she says, I was reading an article about Thomas More the other day, and one part of it that really intrigued me was about inner darkness. Some people try too hard to be virtuous, but the shadow is a seasoning of life that makes us real people. So my question is, how did you embrace your inner darkness, and how do you maintain the balance between darkness and light in your life? Okay, I think that's a really good question, because I feel like my life has been I've been very blessed, obviously, but there's a big part of it when I felt I was in darkness, probably like a lot of you out there. And then there's the lights, and then I sort of realized I was depressed and had this thing and all this stuff. And so I started working on myself and, giving up booze, all these things, all this stuff. And then I went right to the other side. And like the year of 2012, particularly when we were touring that year, I was like one of those kind of joyous, had this incredible, joyful, light energy. And much as that was completely intoxicating, I don't think it was very realistic. And I've been reading a lot. Chelsea Luger last week, who's a really inspiring person, she recommended a lot of this Native American literature. And one of the things that I've been getting out of it is this. I read it in Black Elk Speaks. Is the idea of the red road, and he talks about the red road. The white road, and they talk about the white road and the black road. And the white road and the black road, the two roads where they're the different poles. So one is joy, one is darkness. And the two of them, and what I'm getting from this Lakota wisdom is, I love this idea. They say, you shouldn't be in one or the other. You should be aware of each one, and you walk down the middle, and that's called the red road. And that to me makes a lot of sense, because I've spent a lot of time when I was in the joyful phase. I don't want to know about the dark road. I don't want to know about it. But that's not life. That's not living. And I think they talk about the red road is you're aware of your darkness. I mean, we've all got stuff, right? And we've all got that in us. That's part of being the human being. That's the richness. But it's a balance. And the red road is being aware of the light and being aware of the dark, and not, and balancing it out. And that, to me, that's, it's taken me sort of 52 years to get to that point. And I spent a long time like craving to be back in that joyful, euphoric state all the time, but that's not realistic. And I much rather like go down this and be aware of my shortcomings, and be aware of those things, and not reside there or all that stuff. So I found that really helpful. I don't know if that did. Yeah, it's good, because some of you, I'm reading some of the comments about this. Okay, Lost Girls. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. On Earth, I just digress a sec. On Earth, Long Time Coming was a song about loneliness. Particularly I was trying to get from a female perspective. And, I had this image of this girl, this young woman, maybe 22, 23. And I had this image of her on about the 5th floor of a high-rise down in south of London, overlooking Waterloo Station, which has and overlooking as the sun was setting. And I had this image of this young woman, completely lost, and going, why do I feel so fucking alone? Why do I feel so, because my whole thing is, this is such a patriarchy that we live in, right? That if as a male you feel lost, what must it feel like to be a woman, where you're living a lot of these lives along the codes of these very male, capitalism is a very, very male concept in its, its primal form, right? It's like aggressive, and that's such a, I know female can be aggressive, but it's such a male, fit, survival of the fittest, all that bullshit. Anyway, so, walk the red road. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, yeah, and especially a black or woman of colour. Absolutely, well said, Grey Girl Gala. Absolutely, that's the whole, even more so. So, and again, this comes on to the last question I'm going to answer about inspiration. So maybe that's a good segue. So the last question I'd like, because I definitely don't want to overstay my welcome. The last question is Never Troubled Sarah, who came on 3 weeks ago and was great and fun. and I like this question because it feels good at the moment. It's the, gosh, I feel like you've led us into your life and your personal journey. It's hard to ask personal, emotional questions. That's okay, I'm saying. I'm going to be cheeky and ask you too, because I'm cheeky, and I'm sure someone else will ask the same too. What inspires you to write? Where do you feel your best creativity comes from? What would you be doing in life if Radiohead EOB wasn't a thing? So on the first part, what inspires me? Well, I'll sort of preface, I'll not preface that, but I'll accompany that by saying, I can't do music unless I'm emotionally inspired. I just cannot do it, and that's what makes me a very limited musician, because I can't, like, there's some people who can like conjure up chords and do, this fits that. I can't do that. I cannot do music unless there's an emotional component to it for me, unless I'm attached. And you know, I've kind of I've only realized that recently, because you know, there might be songs like in the Radiohead canon and the songs that didn't make albums or whatever that I couldn't write or I couldn't do anything for, and I used to, as you say, why can't I do this? It's like, and it's because I wasn't feeling it, basically. So I can only do music that I'm feeling. And so the last record, I found a place where it starts with an emotion. It started with a feeling. And it started with a feeling about the kind of what it is like to be a human being on this planet, and different people, what it's like, whether it's the lost young woman in a city, in a patriarchal society, or us as a whole, you know. And this place came from a place of, I have this infallible belief that human beings can be such a force for good. I mean, we're capable of doing extraordinary things, but the problem is we have a load of people who tell us that we're not, and also a lot of the time we're educated. You're told, you're not going to do that. It's all about what you don't have, and there are a lot of limits placed on what we're capable of doing, and all this stuff. And of course there's a dark side, but we have to learn to deal with that. So my album came from, you know, the writing came from it was a kind of it was that, but also it was a cosmic perspective. It was that blue, it was the pale blue dot. It's like, you know, what are we in the scheme of things? You know, what is my life in the scheme of things? It's nothing. Our lives, it's like in compared to the universe. So for me, inspiration comes from an emotional place. It comes from a feeling, and I got it a lot. I got it in the words of Walt Whitman, "Leaves of Grass." That kind of, where he's sort of wandering through society and he's looking at all the beauty and all aspects of society, from the roughest parts to nature, and he all sees it as beautiful, and there's a kind of a beauty to it. And that's kind of what I was trying to say, that there is a beauty to this madness and the beauty of, you know, this whole thing that we're living. And that's what I felt. I don't always feel like that, and I didn't feel, but that's where the music comes from. So that's, the inspiration always comes from an emotional place, and it's probably from the heart. It's a soul thing. I think I've realised I'm a soul musician. I can't do it. It's like, I can't do it otherwise. I'm not, and I don't mean that in a soul traditional musician. It comes from, you know, and it's nice singing, you know, we are alive, all these things. So yeah, that's where the inspiration comes from. And then I guess the last question is, which I'll answer, which is that question is, what would you be doing in life if Radiohead EOB wasn't a thing? Okay, so, well, basically I come from a family of, if you want a better word, a grouping of healers, doctors. My parents were both osteopaths. My grandparents are both osteopaths. My sister is an osteopath, and you know, she does. She helps to rehabilitate people with Pilates as well. my grandfather on the other side was a GP, a doctor. My great-grandparents were osteopaths, physicians, great-uncles, great-aunts. They've all been healers, and they go right back, and they go back. My grandmother on my mum's side was born in Laredo in Texas, on the border, and her mother, my great-grandmother, great-grandparents, they were both osteopathic physicians, which were, in those days, they were naturopaths, they were homeopaths. So I may well be something like that, although, you know, I didn't do science A-levels, but I don't think that matters. But all I want to do is music. Here's something that I haven't told you yet. I'm just going to have some water because I'm a bit... Yeah, Orphan Girls just said service is the highest ideal. I agree. And I'll digress a step. I view what my life is, it's about service. And I love that idea. I think that idea of service, like for me, the music is service. When I write it, it's service to the muse. It comes from, it's not me, it comes through me. It's serving that. And then when we go out and play live, it's serving you guys. And I really, that's the way that I frame it. That's the way that feels right, and that feels the way, and music can be healing too. So around the time of In Rainbows, I was struggling a bit with just like, I thought like, I don't know, do I want to do this? I really enjoy it, but I was kind of questioning the whole validity of doing music, because I thought it was quite, you know, I don't know. Anyway, at the time I was having some incredible, part of my journey, I had about 3 years of what's called 5 elements acupuncture, and it's not traditional Chinese medicine. It's the original acupuncture that was taught by the Taoists in pre-communist China, and a lot of the 5 elements acupuncturists were driven out of China at the time of Chairman Mao, and went to Taiwan and went to the West. And I found this incredibly powerful. And because it's not only helping, but it's 5 elements is all about helping you find your destiny. Anyway, that the acupuncturist Gerard Kite became a good friend of ours, and he started up this acupuncture school. And this is like 2000. I haven't told a journalist or anything this. I haven't told the band this either. But this is open season, right? This is, and Gerard started this school of acupuncture, and I said to him, I was, you know, lying there with a few needles in me, and I said, Gerard, and I meant this. I said, do you think? I mean, I don't have any knowledge of physiology, but would you take me on? Could I be a student in your college and train for a couple of years? And I seriously thought about. I just thought that would be a really cool thing. Like, walk away from Radiohead. Yeah, it's been great. I'm now going to have the rest of my life doing acupuncture. And I really seriously toyed with it. I was also at the same time quite troubled because, you know, I was spending a lot of time away from my family, my kids, and my wife. And it was, I've said this before there, and I was talking to Johnny Marr and Neil Finn about this, and I was going like, I could see Neil and Johnny were like, why would anyone want to not be a musician? And Neil was so great, because Neil said to me, he said, I don't think your kids are going to thank you when they're teenagers for leaving Radiohead and becoming acupuncturists. And I was just like, yeah, maybe you're right. So, yeah, so I would probably be doing something like that. Or if I wasn't doing that, I'd like to be doing something like, the older that I get, the more I love the idea of gardening. I don't know if any of you feel that. I know it's not very rock and roll, but there is something that I learnt over lockdown, there's something that I love being outside, seeing vegetables, plants grow, seeing the seeds, seeing everything bud. There's something really, really profound about it. And, you know, I can't help it, but that's what I really, really, really would like to. Apparently, George Harrison, when he, from the 70s, you know, he moved into his big house outside of Henley, he was a mad gardener. And he was so into his gardening, and that's quite a well-known thing. So we're not alone there. So, all right, I think you've had enough of me going on and on and on. I hope you have. I hope the week is good to you and is good to us all. And I know it's none of my business for everybody in America who are watching, but please ask everybody to vote. It feels so important for the rest of the world. And maybe I'm going to put something on my Instagram. But as I'm not an American citizen, I know it's very easy for people to say it's none of your business, but it is actually, because the President of the United States of America is one of the most important figureheads on this planet. We all know that. All right, lovely, lovely people, brothers and sisters, sending you love, strength, light. Let's do this again next week. Lots of love to you guys. Look after one another, look after your loved ones, be kind to one another, be good to you. Huge respect, big heart. Love you guys. Big love. Mwah.